Okay, it is my privilege to introduce Chris Hislop. Now, I have to say, I've known Chris longer than I've known anybody in this group, I believe. Chris and I go back, um, I've been here 20 years, and I think we go back 25 years, which is really hard because Chris and I aren't very old. We're really young. We're in our 40s, right, Chris?
At
But
least. I'm in my 30s. You're always older than me.
yeah, I was always older than you. I remember when Chris was just this young, upcoming HR guy. Um, and Chris, it's all you. Thank you for coming today. And it is a real privilege to have people come. They don't have to come, and I appreciate you coming in and giving back to the group.
Steve, thank you for this opportunity. And I do actually want to thank Steve. I don't, there's a lot of people on this call today, which is awesome. And I'll just tell you a little bit about my story. But I know when I was laid off in March of last year, so March of 25, I've been at my company for 28 plus years. And just kind of, your world gets turned around. It sounds like all of us are in the similar boat. So having a consistent place to be every Monday and talking about your weekend and talking about the interviews you've had, and he brings in different specialists and everything. I really enjoyed it. So and one of the highlights though is having people come back and talk about their story, and that's why I'm grateful that he's allowed me to come back and do this. So I'll just go through this pretty quick. My name's Chris Hislop. I am from this area, born and raised in Ogden, and lived in Roy since lived in Sunset when my wife and I first got married in 1999. Then we moved to Roy in 2002, and we've been in two different houses in Roy. So I worked at Focus Services from 1996 into 2005, and I was laid off March of 2005. And it was kind of a weird deal where they sent a meeting invite, and actually they sent it to the wrong person. So I kind of knew what was going on. And so I showed up to the meeting, and the owner was, or the CEO was still on a trip. He's a big BYU basketball fan. He got snowed out in Iowa. And my boss, I was going to have a call in his office, and he didn't want to have a call in his office. So he pushed me back to my office, and I kind of knew what was going on. So there's a really funny clip. I was going to bring it, but you guys can look it up. It's a little GIF, or excuse me, yeah, it's a um, yeah, whatever. It's a reel, I guess. It's a 30-second reel, and it has a guy getting fired over the phone, and then the CEO speaking at a conference saying how much he loves his family at work, and then the guy tackles him, the guy that got fired. So I related to that. I thought that was pretty funny. So, but you know what? That all got figured out. I talked to the owner after. He actually told me he was embarrassed of how it was handled, and and I talked to my boss who was in his office when I was in my office a few months later. He just said it was really hard for him. He should have handled it differently, and whatever. We got to figure it out. So my journey started March of last year. I was trying to stay as positive as possible, and I was able to kind of get in a routine, get in a rhythm where I knew I couldn't look for a job 8 hours a day. I think that would get, kind of tiresome. But I would set aside time every day, and I really like how uh, you know what? Dang, I forgot the acronym. What's the acronym called, Steve?
Riches?
Riches. So I really looked forward to the riches every week to talk about the resumes, interviews, and contacts and the hours it would put in. I really like that. So I had a couple of interviews initially when I got laid off. I had a buddy of mine who had contact at Target, and a gal interviewed me at Target, and they had a position open up in I believe it was in Logan, and I had to work weekends, and it was literally my first interview. I didn't want to work weekends, so I didn't get an official offer, but it was a pretty good lead, and I decided I didn't want that. And then a few weeks later, about 6 weeks later, I actually get a message from a former boss of mine and saying he was a CFO at a call center, and I had just left the call center world after 28 years. And he goes, "Hey, Chris, anybody in your network have looking for a job? We have an HR manager position open." I go, "Actually, I do. I know someone pretty well, me." And he goes, "What? What the heck?" And so I applied for that job, and I didn't get it. So that was April of last year. So the reason I'm telling you this is because we have a full circle here, and and I was okay with that because I kind of wanted to try a different industry. And so, anyways, continue to look. I made the final round of at least three groups that I knew, Weber County School District for a benefits specialist, made the finals there, didn't get it. Made the final round at UTA for an HR specialist. Actually, there was another gentleman in this group named Rennie. He and I both made the finals with another individual that we didn't know, and the other individual got the role. And then I made the finals with the church here in Utah. The Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints is a big employer. I made the final round with them, didn't get it. So it was, up and down, you know how it goes. And but still my wife is super supportive, friend super supportive, and is just kind of the new normal. So just kind of doing my thing, sending applications. I was traveling. If I had an interview set up, I would, do an interview remotely while I was traveling, or at least set it up while I set up one interview while I was in Washington, D.C., and had it when I came back home. And then another thing I want to mention really quick, I ran into a buddy of mine who owns a construction company last summer, and I told him my situation. He goes, "Oh, we might have something available for you. It's not HR, but it's it's something." So a project manager role. So I interviewed for that last July, and I didn't get it. So it's like, man, you have these connections and people help you get interviews, and I'm not getting these things. So, anyways, I continue to apply, and the end of July last year. I apply for a place I never heard of before. I get a call back, and I'm talking to the owner of the business. Her and her husband own this business, and we chat a little bit. And she goes, actually, we chat about half an hour. And it's for a talent acquisition specialist at a toy manufacturing company. And she goes, "Hey, Chris, I've liked your answers. I really want you to come in and meet my husband tomorrow. Can you do that? He and I tomorrow?" I go, "Sure." So we set it up. This is on like a Monday. I go on a Tuesday. I talked to them. It was those two plus their operations person, and it's in the BDO on 12th Street. And they make these cool little 3D printed toys called the Wiglets. And the kid's pretty intense. The owner is really intense. And we're sitting there and we chatted for about an hour. And then I told them that my background's HR, not necessarily talent acquisition. And they said, "Well, we get that, but we really like, they said they liked what I did, my experience and everything, and they wanted to give me a 30-day trial for a talent acquisition specialist." So, kind of discussed some things. I was waiting to hear back from them the next day, and then I didn't. Then he finally called and said, "Hey, is there any way you can come in and start basically tomorrow?" So this was a Wednesday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, start on Wednesday, but I had a plan set up, so I wouldn't go back until that following Monday. So long story short, when I first got in, he said, "Hey, look, there's some laws, Chris, that I just don't believe in following." So that's a little bit of a red flag because I'm an HR guy, so I believe in following all the laws, or obviously, you want to be compliant, right? And he wasn't very specific on certain things. So long story short, that month goes, and he told me he was going to give me an offer, and then I had run in with one of the managers that I ended up actually being really good friends with, and they decided to bring someone else in to take my spot. So, but they weren't quite ready for an HR person, and they asked if they offer me the HR role, would I take it? I go, not right now, because there's some things that you guys shouldn't be doing or you should be doing. And they're like, "Well, that's fair. We're not quite there yet." So they bring in this new kid, and literally, his first interview, he gets hired, okay, as my boss. And I'm in my early 50s. He is 30. So he's basically old enough to be my son. And he has a small family, lives up in Logan. And you could tell he was just like, "Okay, I'm taking this guy's spot. Is he gonna be tough to deal with?" And within a day, we could tell we were gonna get along great. And he was awesome. He was really, really good to me. The situation was weird. And it was set up where I would basically transition him for a month, and then I would slowly kind of, go off in the sunset and continue my job search. But as we continued to stay busy and there were HR issues that came up and they asked me to help take care of the HR issues, I basically stayed on part-time. So I stayed on part-time basically from October until I left 3, 4 weeks ago. And there was a really big, intense meeting with all the senior leaders that I wasn't involved with because I was just kind of this part-time guy that helped out. So and this is about a month ago. And they just said, "Hey, everyone needs to step up. If you don't step up, you could potentially lose your job." So my boss, his name's Chase. He came and told me that. And I go, well, are you worried about your job? He goes, maybe. He goes, not, I don't know. He goes, we'll see how it goes. So we had the meeting and he's doing fine. They just said, look, there's a couple people that we are concerned about, but we appreciate how you handled everything. And then, because like I said, I was working about 6 hours a day and they just like, we know Chris does good work, but we're not entirely sure like what he does all the time. And he goes, well, look, and he went and explained it. He goes, and the reason he's part-time, if he's not super busy, if there's not stuff going on, I think he used, I'm a steward of the business and I would leave because I'm not going to sit there and take advantage of it. So anyways, he went to bat for me. I felt really good about that. And it was like, okay, I'm continuing to look. I was having interviews. Now go back to my former boss that reached out to me a year previous. He reaches out to me April of this year. So almost a year later, he goes, hey, Chris, are you still looking for full time? Because we keep in touch a little bit. He goes, because I might have a spot for you. I go, the same position I interviewed a year ago? He goes, yeah, same role. And I go, well, I'm interested, but I want to know what's going on. So we chat for, 45 minutes. And he said that the HR guy that they hired was actually a really good HR guy, but people didn't like working with him. And I go, well, I typically don't have that problem. So he goes, I know, that's why I thought of you. So, anyways, we chat. It was really good chat. He set up an interview with the owner of the company and the COO later that week. And then my current boss, I told him because he went to bat for me and there was a lot going on. He's having twins here shortly, so he's going to be away from the office. So I didn't want to leave him high and dry if something were to come about. So I said, hey, just so you know, man, I'm interviewing with a former boss who I interviewed a month ago, but now it looks like they want someone else and it's looking pretty good. But I've been here before. And he goes, oh, dude, I can't have you leave. And I go, well, I'm just saying it may not work out, but if it does, and I'm to the point now, I got to figure out, I got to get back full time because I'm starting to get behind a little bit financially. Nothing crazy, but I need full time work. And he goes, dude, I can get you full time work. He goes, would you? I know a few months ago when I came on, you weren't so totally set on staying here. Would you be willing to stay if get full time? I mean, do you feel like things are going better? I go, yeah, I think things are going great, going really good, and I would definitely consider staying if that were an option. And he goes, okay. So he starts working on that. And during this time, actually, I'm having an interview with the call center, and it goes well. And then I'm waiting to hear back, and then I get offered the job at the call center. And so I tell my current boss that, and it wasn't like immediate that I was going to take the call center gig because I like the environment now where I was working at the toy manufacturing company. But like I said, I needed a couple concessions. I needed a little bit more money, and I needed full time. And so we talked about it, and he got it to the point where I'd be making more money what I was, but it'd be less money than what the job offer was. And it's just a better fit with the call center. And even though it's a call center, it's remote, completely remote. Like I interviewed with the CFO that's in Oregon, the owner is in Florida, and then the COO is in Utah, and then the operations managers in Arizona, and all the call center reps are scattered throughout the United States. So it's definitely a little bit different than what I'm used to. Um, but as this was introduced to me, and I felt really good about it, I talked to my wife and some good friends, and basically decided to go with the call center. So just the interesting piece though is that I got turned down a year before, and I wasn't overly hurt by that at the time because it was still brand new. And then the project manager role that I got that I didn't get, that I probably wasn't qualified for, but I could figure it out. I've ran into him a few other times, and he's actually hired me as a fractional HR that he pays me a monthly, a monthly, stipend or a monthly retainer fee, I guess, to help him with HR stuff. So two of the times I got turned down, I'm earning. I have a full-time job with and a fractional job with. So as I go through this, and I heard a lot of the people came back would give their story. They would give some advice, and my advice would be don't burn bridges. Don't burn bridges. It's frustrating when you think you're going to get something because I really thought I was going to get the job at the church, I felt good about that. In December, I made it to the last two people. Actually, I knew one of the guys would be my boss. I served in an HR function with him. He was in Salt Lake. I was in Utah years and years ago. About the same time, I worked with Steve, so I felt really good about that. But they hired an internal person. But I still, I didn't burn any bridges. I was frustrated, but I didn't burn any bridges. And just things work out, and they don't work out maybe exactly when you want them to, because I know that they didn't work out exactly when I wanted them to. But as I reflected, it was kind of a cool story. My wife finished her master's degree right when I got laid off. Okay, so literally she finished her master's degree the end of February. I got laid off the beginning of March, and she's a school teacher, and she basically school teachers get a little more money when they get master's degrees and additional degrees. So she applied for her bump. So she got her raise and didn't, make up for my loss of income. Okay, but still, she got a bump right when I got laid off. And then I got an extension on my severance. I had a 1 month left on my severance when I got the job at the toy manufacturing company. So I know this isn't a religious forum at all, but when people come, they talk about, their beliefs in a higher power. I have a belief in a higher power, and at times, sometimes I wonder if he knew that I was here. But as I reflect, he knew, and I needed to have faith and just keep up the fight. So I don't know everyone's story, but I know it's probably similar to mine, and it hurts when you get laid off. It's frustrating. It kind of changes your whole world of what you know, and then you just regroup and you got to find the new normal. And it's hard. I know. And I know this may not be what I was hoping for is my next job to be the last job before I retire. And I don't know if this will be, because call centers are tenuous. There's things that can change quickly. That's why I was hoping to get on with a known established employer like the church, like I applied. I heard a gentleman worked at Northrop Grumman. Never got an interview at Northrop. I applied at Northrop probably 7, 8 times and never even got an interview. So it's just one of those things is, we always learn, always have experiences that help us, to I don't know, appreciate what we have, and then just to bounce back and just keep battling. So that's basically my story. So I'm happy with where I'm at right now. I've been at my new place for 2 weeks, and the people have been very kind, very nice. I actually talked to the operations manager. It's kind of funny because some of the people that I talk to, I'm getting building relationships with. They will say things about the HR guy that I'm replacing, and I don't, participate. I have no skin in the game. I'm not going to talk badly about him. But from what I can tell, he actually was pretty good at the actual job. He set up some pretty good systems. He was on top of a lot of things, but just that, the people part, he looked like he struggled with. So the operations guy said, he goes, Chris, to be honest with you, probably worked out good for you that people didn't like him. Because if they liked him and you came in and they didn't like you, they would compare. But because they're comparing you against him and they seem to like you more than him, then it's bodes well for you. I'm like, well, I get it, but I still need to, show and add my value and show not only I'm easy to get along with, but I can also do the job. And they're like, oh yeah, we get it. And it looks like you can, but you got to still, so I'm only 2 weeks in. So that's my story. And I seriously, that's when I got with ZB Designs. I never got a full offer, and I was so excited about coming back and sharing my story because I love hearing these stories. I was basically from March until July. That's how often I maybe missed 2 weeks in those 4 or 5 months. And then, but I've been working since July. So, on Mondays, I really never had a chance to come tell a story because it was kind of the story was evolving. So, Steve, I appreciate the few minutes I had, and I got a few more minutes till I need to hop off. So if there's any questions or whatever, I'm more than welcome to stick around for a couple more minutes.
Okay. So because we only have a few minutes, who has questions? I know I can call on the question people. I know who they are, but you know, I'll just start naming people. Desiree, Jason,
I'll
Well,
throw
that's
it out there. I will. I'll jump in here. Chris, thank you so much for sharing your story. It was, again, just very refreshing to hear it this morning. And again, like a lot of us on here, it kind of just back and forth and it can be a little deflating. So thank you for sharing. I did have a question. So it sounds like a lot of your search really was based around networking. Did you end up using any AI to like customize your resume to help you apply for some of these jobs, or was it all networking?
That's a really good question, Desiree. I did actually. I signed up for a service that had AI build my resume, and it actually sent my resume out to, I want to say, close to 1,000 different jobs, and I never got an interview from that. And I may have been using maybe not the most effective tool. And to be honest with you, off the top, I mean, it was almost a year ago now. I don't even remember which one it was, but it cost me like $40, $50. I don't know. It wasn't super expensive, but I was willing to try anything. So initially it really wasn't network. I was trying networking because I feel like that's probably one of the most effective ways. But the job that I actually landed with the manufacturing was just off of Indeed. And and I built some pretty good friends, from that. But networking definitely helps because they already know you. They can get you in the door a little bit easier. I definitely use the AI tool, but I didn't see a lot of success from it. It doesn't mean that it's not out there, but I just didn't see it.
Oh, but that is a bummer that you couldn't think of the one subscription because I'm not sure if anybody else, but I've kind of considered some. So, I mean, if you can think of them, definitely pass that through Steve because we are
I'll look
interested in what works.
Was it
for
Hunter?
sure.
Was it Hunter?
I seriously don't remember. There's
Shoot.
emails. Look, I keep in touch with Steve frequently, so
Okay.
I'll for sure look. I can look on some old emails from last year, even a credit card bill, and then
Okay.
I can for sure let you know.
All right. Well, thank
I
you.
can let Steve know and he'll let you know. You bet.
Perfect. Thanks again, Chris.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay. We have about time for a couple more questions before Chris has to hop off. Who else? Well,
I
while you're all
I will, Steve.
contemplating, let's make sure we give Chris a round of applause for coming today. And it looks like Jason,
Bravo, bravo, bravo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
looks like Jason is did you say Jason? Did I hear your voice?
You did, yeah, because you told me. But yeah,
Jason,
it's good to see you.
you too, sir.
Yeah, I know you. His name was Rennie. Yeah, I
Rennie.
remember you two guys were competing for spots. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to say congratulations. It's yeah, I'm trying to think, the environment of call center compared to a manufacturing company, how that'd be different for HR. Um, but yeah, because I've been involved with manufacturing pretty much my whole career, and but it seems like at least some of the HR uh, situations would be consistent just because you're dealing with people, whether or not
Eh,
they're
Yeah,
making
and it
stuff
really
or
was.
calling.
It really was. There were two differences that, from my experience anyway. Um, the place that I started definitely didn't necessarily want an HR person. When I left, it was the same place, but they had evolved and they're like not quite there yet, but we're getting a lot closer. And then I became really good friends with which is weird because he's the same age as my son, but
Right.
who's 22, okay? But I became really good friends with the director of manufacturing, and we would
Oh,
have weekly calls every week, and he would actually bring me in on some touchy, employee situation stuff. And it was kind of funny too, because I told him it's like with all the employees that we've had come through this place, I'm surprised there hasn't been any type of DOL, issue, at least down in Salt Lake. And right when I left, there was a wage claim that came in a week before I left. A gal felt like she was owed some money, and she actually was, and we got to figure it out before I left. So a lot of the issues that we came about were similar, and I would tell him stories, and he would really listen because he's like, that could happen here. I'm like, yeah, it
right.
could happen here,
No,
so it was
what's DOL?
Department of Labor, Utah
Oh,
Department of Labor.
right. Well, because when you said that there was issues with legality, that like I say, that sounds very problematic, and they'd stick you in the middle of that. Um,
Yeah, and that's kind of what I struggled with at the beginning. And he even said he goes, "Well, I'm the owner," and he never gave me specifics of what he didn't, what he wouldn't follow. And a lot of it is just he's a confident kid and he doesn't want to be told what to do.
right,
And that's kind of what I figured. And then the more, but he would reach out when people would say have negative things to say online. He goes, "Oh, Chris, we got to get this fixed." And so he evolved. He was just literally he's 24, 25-year-old kid that got a lot of success early and but he was the thing that I struggled with is I could have just walked away at the very beginning, but still it was just like it took me that long to get a job, so I was just kind of had that internal
right.
struggle,
Oh, yeah,
of what to do, and I didn't feel like it was egregious enough for me to just adios. And then when the new guy came in, he and I got along great, and I told him some of my concerns, and he agreed with me, and it just got a lot better.
that's good. Well, and it
Thanks.
sounds like then you left the place better than it was when it started. So that's got to feel good.
Uh, yeah, and I left on good terms, and I even told my wife, I'm like, look, if they come back to me in 6 months and they like, look, we really, when I left, I didn't, there was no ill will at all.
Right.
There was, they gave me we went to Freddy's Burger Place for the day before I left with the owner and all the people I work with, and so I definitely don't want to burn any bridges because they could be very, very successful, and it's just there was a couple of people that got hired on right when I left that were about my age, but the majority of the people that worked there were in their mid 20s, mid to low 20s. So that's good and bad. It's just I didn't have a lot of like generation connection with like inside jokes with movies and TV shows and stuff because we're so far apart. But
Right.
but the kid that was my boss, he actually had a lot of the same interests that I had and a similar sense of humor, and he would really listen. So he was very young, but he was still very, very unique. And he even said, he goes, "Dude, I don't want you to leave, but you got to make the right decision for your family." And I'm like, "Yeah, this is it." So
Right. Well, congratulations again, and like I say, it's good to see you. So
you too. You too.
try not
Thank you.
try not to come back.
Trust me, as much as I like this group, I don't want to come back.
Right.
There's a reason he needs to come back. He needs to hire people from here. That's why he
And
needs to
that
come back. That
and that's
that's
okay
that's a
too.
that's a good reason to
Yep,
come back. I have one more person I'm just going to put in briefly because advice to him. So Jeff may only look 25 or 30. He's a little bit older than that, but he's just getting into HR. I'm going to put him on with you for a sec and just maybe advice for Jeff, and then we'll wrap it up.
sure.
Thanks. Thanks, Steve, for that. I think your situation is similar and just kind of beating the bushes and trying to figure out your niche and where to go. Like I spent 20 years in essentially retail management, department manager, and navigating that. And now I'm kind of transitioning into the HR field and looking for any suggestions on that. Like I had mentioned earlier, I got my recently acquired my HR master's degree through WGU and went through the program really quickly because of the experience that I had in retail management and also the advice from professors and mentors at WGU, even suggesting the lead management as a second master's degree. Just kind of any advice or anything that as I kind of work this consulting and business partner option. I'm looking for something, I guess, more substantial and full time
Sure.
to kind of
So I
fill in the gaps.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So I do. I didn't use LinkedIn enough, and I was just because the one gig that I did get at ZB Designs, I had reposted something from now I can't even think the guy's name, but he's a big online guy. He owns gyms and Gassi, I think. I can't think. Alex something. Alex Alex Hermosi. But the owner of ZB Designs is a huge Alex Hermosi fan. I just reposted it kind of on accident because I liked it, but that caught his attention. And then there was another situation where a guy that I worked with years ago owns a Murphy door, and they had an HR position open, but I applied for it too late. So I think as you use LinkedIn and not just the banner of open to work, but just like telling, making presence there. So the connections that you have in your past life, they may know someone that needs an HR guy. You could have built your reputation good enough at what you did before, where it could translate into something into a new role because of how you worked as a retail manager before. So I connections and relationships aren't the only way to go, obviously, because that's the first job I got just out of the blue. The second job I got it from a relationship. But I think cultivating relationships, because you just never know when you know someone who has an opportunity that could be a really good fit for you. So that would be my advice.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And Jeff, I just popped your stuff into a text to him that you had on the chat.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Big round of applause for Chris. Thank you again for coming. And
Thank you.
Chris, we'll stay in contact. Will I see you at HR meetings?
You will. This right now, my company isn't paying for it, so if they pay for it, then you'll see me more often. But I'll drop in on occasion. And if Dax isn't on, make sure you tell Dax hi for me. It was good to see that he
Dax is
landed
here.
something.
Dax, say hi.
Hey, Chris. Good to see
Hey,
you.
Dax. You too. Congratulations on landing something. That's awesome.
Yeah, you as well. So
And
thank
hopefully you guys saw
I'm
your
happy
great
for you.
picture. Your great picture. If you guys didn't see that, it was awesome.
Oh, I have a weekly letter that I send out to family and friends. I put that on there. I can't believe that anybody can make me better looking than I already am, but you did, Steve. Good job.
Hey, you should look and say, I make this look good. I mean, I'm going to pull it up real quick just before you go, but check this out. I mean, if I didn't have AI, I couldn't do any of this, but look at these guys. These guys, check
Well,
it
my
out.
wife,
We
my
can't
wife was
see
the
it.
first.
Oh,
Check that out. Can you guys see that?
My
You-
wife was the first person to notice that you did AI. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm naturally that good looking. She goes, huh?
yeah, right.
All right.
You-
Well, I'm going to end this recording with Chris, and then we'll come back and we'll start the recording again with.
Good luck, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Thank
Bye.
you.
Later.
Thank you. Bye bye.